This is David Holloway, founder of Hunting Greatness, and I want to welcome you to a very special interview I'm doing with Shawne Lights Out Merriman. He's going to be sharing some real secrets, wisdom, and a little bit on his journey. But first I want to thank you for taking the time out to listen to this, and I hope you find it valuable. Alright, we're here with Shawne. We're going to get right to the interview. When did you first fall in love with football and why did you like it so much?
Actually I was a basketball player at first at Fordville Boys and Girls Club here in Maryland. And I was fouling out every game. And the coaches were like, you know what, you're too aggressive, you need to go do something else. So they brought me on the football field. And that's when I knew I was home. I was like, you know what, I love playing basketball, but it's nothing like this sport here.
Right.
And ever since, man, I always played basketball, football up in high school, and football became it for me.
Yeah, similar to me. I was back, up in New York, but I got made fun of. They didn't really think we played football up there. But basketball is my love. But there was something about football, man. Just being able to hit somebody and the aggressiveness playing on the field, you can't get in basketball. I mean, he was fouling out, he was breaking people's noses. It's just a certain place for a certain kind of athlete. Your nickname for knocking people out, what do you think that's an ability, or you think there's something going in your mind, there was a lot of pain, or what was kind of going through your head when you just knocking people out?
You know what, I think it's all demeanor and your intentions to do something. And when you get up to a certain level, like the NFL, even in college, where guys are all big and all strong and all fast across the board, now becomes someone's demeanor. What are your intentions on when you get in there? You want to just tackle a guy and get him on the ground, or you want to run through him and bury him? And I always had the attitude like, I'm gonna run through you and bury you like you're not even there. And that, at the size and speed and combination I had, made it a dangerous thing in football, and that's how that lights out thing came about.
It was rare to see somebody in college to have that kind of brand and just nickname and all that charisma and all that stuff coming in, which really paid off. When was it that you first really started working out, and who kind of introduced you to it?
When I was in high school, my sophomore year, I played linebacker at 173 pounds. And I was working out, I thought I was working out right, I thought I was working out hard, but I wasn't hitting the weights hard enough. LeVar Arrington told me, he said, you know what, because I would get these stingers all the time. I would hit my body and I would get these stingers in my neck, and my shoulder would always hurt. I said, man, what can I do, what can I do? So LeVar Arrington told me, he said, get your shoulders and your neck and everything strong as it can possibly be, and you can hit anybody as hard as you want. You wouldn't out-hit your body after that. So I said, okay, cool. So that summer, after my sophomore year, I was hitting the weights the whole off season, and everybody knew when they came past my house around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night, and that garage light was on because I had a bench up in there, and I had turned it into an incline, and I can also turn it into a squat rack. So they knew when that light was on at midnight, they knew I was in there working out, and that was practically almost every night. My junior year, I jumped up about 35 pounds from the last year, and that point on I was able to destroy cats.
Once he crosses that line on the football field, he has a mindset that he'll never let anybody beat him. I mean, and that would really bother him if he felt a man physically beat him.
Right.
He's a kid who loves football, and I've never had anybody that had such a passion for the game that Shawne does.
That's pretty awesome. A lot of people don't understand the hard work that goes in behind the scenes. But that's one of the reasons why I'm going around and doing this to a bunch of different athletes, so people could really get an idea, if you want to choose this path, what you got to do. And we came in as freshmen together in 2002, and I just remember, when we were playing and practicing, I just saw a look in his eye that, he was there to just take over. Like, I'm here, and I don't care if I'm a freshman or not. Me, I'm coming in, I'm nervous and scared, not in my eyes, but he had the whole time, which I saw instantly. Something that just stood out, and I was like, man, this guy's, he's got something inside that's just a little different, because he was ready from the beginning. I think it was freshman or sophomore testing where he jumped a 41.5 vertical. That's still a record. You know, they took the records down, the idiots over there. But I still remember that. He had the visor on, the little fro, and came out. And I was like, how? It's like, get the fuck out of here. Jump 41.
Yeah.
I mean, coming in as that early and just breaking a record like that, I mean, you know, there's a certain level of work ethic and talent that, you know, is just rare to be seen. So, you know, I was lucky because there's certain people that you kind of measure yourself up against. So my freshman year, I was lucky to, you know, for him, you know, probably LeVar early on was like, wow, you know, this is kind of another level that I'm seeing, and this is what he's doing on the field. For me, early, you know, especially playing linebacker, it's like, okay, you know, he set the bar so high that it really kind of fueled me. You know, I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I mean, you know, it's the first time we even talked about it, so,
yeah.
Especially, you know, because we all close together, we still kind of working on the same page, so you kind of go back and look at stuff even back then, and, you know, I just remember, like, you know, coming to school and then seeing everybody there, and kind of remembering times when you're done, because when you're in the fire, you don't really understand or know what's going on at the time, and then you look back and say, oh man, you know, David accomplished a lot. I remember when he came in and did this. So when I was in school, it was like, dang, okay, I came in as a freshman, I played as a true freshman, and in my head, you don't remember these things because, you know, I played 8 years in the league, and you know, played in Pro Bowls and played all this stuff.
There's so much going on.
It's so much going on.
It's hard to reflect.
It's hard to reflect, and you until you look back and like, okay, cool. I remember the you know, when I jumped, you know, but I don't remember these things. But it's always good, man, to kind of look back on your accomplishments, because then you start setting new goals.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, speaking of that last story, when you came in as a freshman, what was kind of your mindset? Because I remember you just being here and taking over. What was kind of your mindset coming in as a freshman? When
I came in, man, I really, you know, I was talking trash to everybody, and I was like always, and I kind of, and still to this day, even when I played in the league, I was talking trash to kind of keep myself motivated. I had to keep myself at a certain level, because, you know, if I didn't hold myself to a certain standard, then you know, then I would let myself slip and lose that edge. And my freshman year when I came in, you remember a guy by Reggie Holmes that came in with, you know, just as much hype, if not more, than I did. So I just wanted to be the best, and I was going to do anything I had to do in order to be the best and put in any amount of work. And I didn't start. My freshman year. Another guy, Jamal Cochran, was playing in front of me because he played the position so well. Short guy, real stocky and strong, strong, and then he was perfect for that position. And I've never played that position before, and I was still light my freshman year too. I was 230 pounds to 225. So just
speaking of light, real quick. When I came in, I want everybody to know that I weighed in at 187, and this guy, Quell and Willie bastards, every time they would, whenever it was time to get on the scale, I'd kind of look over my shoulder to make sure. And these guys would come over.
We had to wait. We had to check and see if he had those 5-pound weights tucked in his girdle downhill, or had some in between his legs.
You know, I'll tell you a funny story. I don't think I ever shared this with anybody. On one of the days, this is how embarrassed I was. I went, you're gonna laugh. I went in the locker room and we had those black mesh pants, right? And I dunked it in some water. And I put those on and put my spandex over top of those, and then put my other shorts on. I had about 4 pairs of shirts on. And still weighed in about 216.
We used to get on you for that, man. We used to get, that was funny.
Yeah, that you know, wow. I just couldn't gain any weight. The only way I could gain weight is lifting weights. So we're gonna get back into it. So speaking of lifting weights, we had this one when I started finally catching up to everybody. We had this one competition, and I don't know if you know how competitive we were, but I remember one bench day where me and Jermaine, I think we got 435 on the bench. We beat Shawne that day, and it was the first day we beat him. And I remember him sitting at the end of the bench with his head down like this, and we continued, and he just sat there for a good 10 minutes. And I was like, man, I don't know if I should go laugh or if he should, if I should leave him alone for a minute. But that very next spring, the next test day, he came back, and I know he was pissed off, and you know, he was hiding and working out probably in the garage with the light on at 12. But he came back, and I mean, he just beat us by at least 20 pounds. And I remember he stood up on the bench, and Ali just came out, and he was chanting, "The champs!" I
remember that. I remember that.
So just to get an idea, you know, we in the beginning, he pushed me a lot. Near the end, I kind of caught up, and you know, but you know, it was a lot of hard work that we put in. But we had fun doing it, and you know, iron sharpens iron. So, you know, I think we did that for each other. You know, his last year, I remember him just being dominant. I mean, he was going to leave. I was like, man, you should leave. I mean, even the summer, we had a 7-on-7 where he came out for like 6 plays. And I think he was supposed to be out there for 6 plays. But I think on the first one, I don't know who we were playing, but there were some bums. But he picked it off and ran it back for the touchdown. And then just ran right back in the locker room. And everybody was like, but I mean, then that's just one of the stories, but I mean, it was just dominance. I mean, he had 22 tackles in one game against NC State. That's got to be some kind of, because I mean, we played on opposite sides. So if the play goes away from you, there's only so much you could do. But the pursuit and the just the rawness, and you know, he was ready to leave. Fast forward a little bit, he left early. I stayed another 2 years. But I remember we met up back in San Diego. When I got there, I knew we were playing, you know, we haven't seen each other in a while, and I remember I had one of the plays of the year that game where I jumped over scrolls, and you know, after I got interviewed, and they were like, you know, asking me all kinds of questions, and you know, I was like, you know, well, at the end I kind of figured, you know, to add a little fun, I was like, you know, Shawne was on the other side, so you know, I had to show him up and give him some turp love over there. And I remember meeting him afterwards, and he was like, man, I was screaming and telling everybody, that's Maryland Terps. But that was a big moment for me, because you know, as a rookie or as a freshman, in my mind as a veteran, you got to show something. So whatever it is, if somebody's going to be a player and good, you're going to show something early. That's just talent showing itself.
Because it becomes raw talent.
Yeah.
You know.
So when that happened, what did you kind of think, and what was
I was excited, man, because I think that, you know, a lot of people, I mean, just getting to know your story and get to know a lot of stuff, knows that if you come in as a walk-on, if you come in as a guy that's super underrated and not getting notoriety, and then you get on the level of playing a National Football League, I mean, I don't think people just know some of the freakishly talented people just trying to step foot on the NFL floor, on the NFL field. And you know, when that happened, I was like, that was a play that on your team, I know, made it stand out to your teammates. But to me personally, I couldn't stop talking about you being a Terp, because like, once you're a Terp, you always a Terp. So you know, I had no other Maryland teammates on my team at the time, so it gave me some kind of bragging rights, like, okay, yeah, this is what we produce here, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And I remember the play like it happened yesterday, and I think you got to Billy Volick. Yeah. Billy Volick was in there, jumped over Sproul, he tried to cut you,
yeah,
and you went clear over top of him, just showing this like incredible hawk flying through the air. It was crazy. So I immediately started thinking like, damn, okay, I know you worked, you know, hard to get to where you was, and even if it was that one play during the game that made, you know, me go and yell to my teammates about us going and being teammates, or your teammates seeing you and say, okay, yeah, this dude's gonna be a player.
Yeah.
You know, it meant a lot. It meant a lot to a lot of us.
We're friends. We're freshmen together. And now that we get a chance to reflect, you know, it's fun to do some of these things and to share all this awesome stuff, inside stories, you know, with people that want to get to the level we got to. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So we're going to go into the workout questions, some more of it, and then we're going to wrap it up. Talk about when you were playing and really hitting it in the off season. Talk about the warrior mindset that you would get into before really hard workouts.
I always went into every workout, Because I think it's physically and mentally impossible for somebody to get up every morning and want to work out 365 days. It's impossible, no matter who you are. You don't just get up in the morning every single morning. You know, some days you tired, some days you're sluggish, some days you're sore,
right.
Some days you're just not really into it. And I've always found a way to piss myself off just a little bit and to give me a reason, extra motivation to go in there.
Yeah.
You know, my rookie year, and then, you know, people having sophomore slumps going in there, and I'm like, man, I want to be big and strong. If anybody think that I did anything last year, I want them to see this year.
Yeah.
2007, you know, they said, you know, I couldn't come back and couldn't do it. I came back. I wanted to prove that I was better than 2006 when I had the 17 and a half sacks, and I got 13 that year. Actually, the last 6 games of the year playing on a torn PCL and LCL on my knee.
Yeah.
And so I always had little motivation to somehow raise the bar and take it to that next level.
Yeah. What's your favorite place to train and why? Describe the kind of place you like the most.
I love to train out in Venice at the Gold's Gym in the off seasons. Because just to the historic, you know, being Arnold Schwarzenegger there, and the history behind the place, and then when you get in there, you find like true like muscle heads as well, like true muscle heads of people when they hit the iron, you know, people that's looking to you know, sculpt every part of their body and so in tune with their body. And then too, I'm kind of the health freak, so every shop, every place in the corner in LA in general, but mainly in Venice, you got a health shop. You know, you can go get a juicer, a press juicer. You can just have that whole healthy lifestyle, and that's just, you know, what I love about training.
Not a game,
right? Cool place. I've been there. Check it out if you haven't. Who are some of your favorite workout partners and why? If you want, you could do every level, high school, college, and after, or if there's one you just that's head and shoulders above the other ones.
You know, when I was in the league, obviously in college, we all kind of just went. I'll never forget the hand cleaning days and squat till you drop. I mean, people out there that don't know what squat till you drop is. That's when you're doing the max squat, squat with 405 pounds on you, or 500 pounds, whatever it is, and you do it until you can't do it no more, till the bar drop and you drop with it. And that's how it went. So I had a lot of back and forth there. I remember a lot of great training days. But when I got into the league, my rookie year, I started training with Lorenzo Neal. You know, it was a guy that was playing 15 years in the National Football League at fullback, which they're like not even around. They don't even exist anymore. And this dude was still working like his first couple years in the league, and kind of showed me, okay, this is how you be a professional league. This is how you take your game to the next level. And a lot of guys, when you get to that level in the league, don't work out like that anymore because they did it so much in college, and that now they kind of scale back how they train. And he was like a workout freak like I was. I used to love working with Lorenzo.
Mine, I had one in high school, this guy named Shawne, undersized, but he was an animal. And he said he knew he would never, you know, lift as much as me, but he wanted to match my intensity, and a lot of times he beat it. So that was one of mine. The other one, once I got in college, it was everybody. I mean, he was one of them, but there was so many of them. Jermaine. In the league, at the next level, it was you know, my rookie year was probably Anquan Bolden, trained in Miami. He just worked like a dog, and Fred Taylor, that was one of my really my favorite ones, because same thing, he was a vet and we worked out together all the time, and you know, he's strong as hell, and he really pushed me and taught me a lot about just being a pro. Is there any workout that you did that really stands out above the rest for whatever reason? Was it the hardest, or did you puke, or what was one that stands out?
Well, in high school, we always, if we lost a game, we would literally get ran, the whole team, until the last person dropped. And I always was like the last man standing. But literally, we went through a period where if we lost a game, we would run till we dropped. In the pros, because you had so many big guys, so many strong guys come from everywhere. I played on a team with Igor Shansky, one of the strongest, you know, Russians ever. You know, might be the only Russian in football, but one of the strongest. And you know, he was huge. So it would be, you know, me, him, and maybe like Steve Foley or something like that. And we went and did 200-pound dumbbells. And that day was like, okay, I knew I reached the pinnacle where I wanted to get to, because I was able to match everything they was doing, even though they had me by weight. but we was in there throwing up 200-pound dumbbells, and the whole team. People got out of meetings because normally the offense, me and the defense go work out. When we were about to do it, the offense would leave in their meetings to come in the weight room and watch this because it was just that crazy.
Yeah. Talk about your favorite workout routine, and try to, the best you can, explain like step by step how it goes. So, what we're gonna do too is we'll get it in writing and put it out there so you guys can kind of see it. But just real quick, kind of go over your favorite workout routine.
My favorite workout routine was always, especially during the off season, because during the season your body you don't really have enough time to recover. So you don't lift as heavy, you don't lift as often because your body just can't recover from Sunday to Sunday and still practice during the week. So during the off season, I would really like to get my heavy days 3 days a week. Either a heavy upper body day. And I believe if you wanted to go and get something to grow, if you wanted your chest to grow, if you wanted your shoulders to grow, you had to come in there and work on just that in order to get it to grow. You can't go in there and work full body every time. So I would have a Monday and Tuesday a really heavy chest or shoulder day, and Tuesday I'll come and have a really heavy leg day, heavy squat, heavy hang clean, heavy deadlift, and just pack it on. And then those off days, which was normally Wednesday or Thursday, something like that, I would do a lot of band training to keep the little muscles tight, to stabilize everything else that I was doing. So that's how my training regimen went, at least for 12 to 14 weeks in the off season.
Nice. Two of the hardest workers you've seen, you might already answer this, but as far as off-season working out, just two people, any level.
Like I said, we was in college, we had a bunch of us. I can still remember like Vernon Davis coming in, not playing a lick of football, but he would just work crazy. So it was a lot of us in college. In the pros, like I said, Lorenzo Neal, all that stuff. But I remember too, we had a wide receiver named Eric Parker. They didn't play that long in the league, maybe like 6-7 years, small guy, but just never stopped working at all point in time. Keenan McCardell, who played wide receiver, I got a chance to play with, guys never stopped working. So these were guys I just seen. Roman Oben, who played offensive lineman, even at the end of his career, just working on his pass rush. I mean, there was pass blocking and stuff. So I was just surrounded by a bunch of people who never really stopped working.
Who is someone from the past you would have loved to work out with? Training.
It's hard to say, but like I would love to work out with John Randall to play D-tackle. I heard he was just a freak. As far as working out. Larry Allen. When I was about to get drafted, I went to go visit a couple teams. I went to Dallas and I walked in the gym, and Larry Allen was just throwing around like 500 pounds, like ridiculous. It didn't even make sense.
He could have played at another level, as big as he, as strong as he was.
It was just ridiculous. So I walked, and I would love to work out with him. There's a bunch of guys I would definitely love to be in the gym with.
So if you had one or two of your biggest secrets, I remember I think I showed you one of mine. I built that long plank where you could kind of slide side to side to work on your lateral quickness. Is there give something, one of your secret sauces, I guess, to working out that people might not know?
Really it's just, for one, staying flexible. I think a lot of people, when they start packing on muscle and they work out like crazy, they forget to stay flexible and keep your muscles compliant, keep it elongated. And two, I started learning how the rest is actually building muscle too. Later on in my career, where I noticed that I didn't have to lift every single day to maintain that strength, that rest actually helped me more than anything else, because the next time I was able to go in the gym, I did more. Instead of banging it out Monday through Friday, you give your body a rest, or give a certain body part of rest, and you're able to do more when you get back in there. So that's something that I learned like in the middle of my career in the NFL.
Right, that's one of the things we were talking about earlier. When you get to that level, you're always looking for kind of an edge, and training, part of it becomes boring, so you're looking for other things. But another thing, you're just looking for the edge. So we talked about, I told him about the yoga, Pilates. He did the MMA. We both did boxing. I went up to Catskill to learn from, Tyson's trainers that are still up there. And even Tai Chi. So a lot of this stuff, if you could, whatever level you're at, if you could kind of venture out and kind of learn a lot of different techniques, because there's so many of them. I mean, I asked him about a secret sauce, and he said rest and stretching. And that's just something you learn from, testing. A lot of this stuff, you just got to test on your own and find out, how far can I push myself without hurting myself, and how many little edges can I gain. For all the other ones you tried, the MMA and boxing and stuff, was there one that kind of gave you a little edge over the other ones? Like,
yeah, the MMA, the Muay Thai helped a lot, because not only did it help with a different kind of cardio, because it was constant. In the football, you really only sprint on the field about 20, 25 yards, as long as you can ever sprint. But what happens is you build up a different kind of cardiovascular, and that I built in MMA. Where in the fourth quarter, I started to feel just like I did in the first, and I was able to go and go and go, and it wasn't a team that couldn't huddle up fast enough for me to even think about catching my breath. I was already in shape. Then hand-eye coordination. A lot of that in MMA is hands and knees and working your hip flexors and hands and combinations. And I really believe that every time that you work out, or every time you're on the football field, every time you're doing anything, when you get tired, the first thing to go is your mental. You lose your fundamentals, you lose your keys, you lose your game plan. And I feel like if you have those things, that you can always be sharp. So
I liked everything. There's so many other tricks, and like you said, the different kind of endurance. A lot of different sports require a lot of different kind of endurances. In fighting, boxing or MMA, you got to be in serious shape to do that stuff, because it's just non-stop. There is no rest. Maybe you get your 30-second break in boxing. But I remember one of the things I learned from Ray and Keon is from that. They learned boxing, so that's what we started doing. We started working out in 3 minutes on, jump rope or online, offline, and then taking that 30-second break and then going right back to it. To build that endurance up, and also to work on your foot strength, because all that jumping rope really helps build a lot of muscles in your feet, which we'll talk about more later. Wrapping this thing up, has the training, the physical results you see in the training, how has that kind of impacted your life, outside of sports? Because I remember when I was small, I remember just feeling, I just didn't like what I see. So when I got to a certain level where I was lifting a certain amount of weight and I was being able to, crush people and knock people out, it just gave me a good feeling. And then just looking in the mirror, it lifted my confidence. And I remember reading Hulk Hogan's story, and he said when he was young, he'd get laughed at and he couldn't get a date, but as soon as he started lifting weights and he just saw his body just, kind of look more like a man and look something you could be proud of, that's where his confidence really started taking off. So question goes, off the field, how do you feel like this has kind of impacted your life?
I think, and I tell people this all the time, that you shouldn't live for one particular thing. You shouldn't work out for one particular thing. I never worked out just for football. I never worked out just for this. Or some people work out just to look good for the summer. If you're training as a lifestyle, if you're waking up every day and you're training as a lifestyle, I think your mind process is a lot better. You sleep a lot better. Your head is more clear. The confidence level is obviously there because you look good, you feel good. So I think the overall, everything on the fitness level would just take your life in the direction you need to go. I mean, it's one of those things where you wake up because it's a part of your life. You work out because it's a part of your life. No one should ever have to tell you to work out. Nobody should ever have to say, okay, you need to get in shape for this thing. How about living your life this way in order for you to get about your daily business and your daily way?
Well, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Shawne. I know I did. Here's some big takeaways I got from that. First, you got to understand, this is a guy who was blessed with so much talent. I mean, he could do it all. He was always a step ahead of everybody else. And with the size, speed, and athleticism he had, plus his mindset. I mean, he was just on another level, and the world saw that. You see, a lot of it was mental. But a big reason he was so far ahead is because he found a mentor early on. LeVar Arrington's little brother went to his high school, and LeVar turned into one of his big brothers and his mentors. And that was so important because so much of life in the game of football is mental. In fact, it's the 80-20 rule where 80% is mental. You see, he found that tutelage and he was able to ask questions to get answers that he needed. The next thing that I took from it is that he worked really hard. As you heard, the garage light was on at 12 p.m. when people walked by, and they knew he was in there working. I mean, this guy just worked like a dog, and I picked up on that. You see, we had a lifting group at University of Maryland. Him and I were in it. I immediately knew that we were going to win because nobody outworked us there. You see, I picked up on that. He also used smack talk to keep himself motivated and kept himself to a very high standard, and talked about your intentions when you get to the ball carrier, how he tried to just bury him. You see, that is all mental. That is a choice. Next, the big part of his intelligence, like I said, was to find and seek out a mentor. I can't emphasize that enough. That gives you such a major edge. If you already have one, that's great. But I have two rules for that. One, make sure he's great, that he's been there before, that he knows what he's talking about, and then he also chases greatness. The second thing is that you should never have only one, I believe. You should always have multiple mentors that you could learn and study from. You see, that's what greatness is all about. Getting better every single day, studying your craft and learning from the greats that came before you. And finally, I want to say, keep sharpening your vision. Keep working on your craft. Find the mentors. And you've got what it takes. Keep hunting your greatness. I believe in you. And what I'd like you to do right now is scroll down and hit the like button and leave a comment if you got some kind of value out of this, because I want to hear from you personally. I'm going to be reading and responding to as many as I can. Thank you very much. Happy hunting, and I'll see you soon.